to. I made a video just now on the Beyond Room 313 channel concerning the strange light phenomenon seen over Holland. There's also in the community ad page a video by Jade talking about, yes, that the feeling of this entity has left the planet and moved on, and that I've been speaking about the last couple of days, and a video by Fiona Aidgar talking about an astrology video talking about a very important subject called the Lion's Gate. Now, this is a trap that's happened. Those of you New Agers who are falling for this Lion's Gate thing, you're putting yourself in danger. This is another version, as Tina has said, of the Water Bucket Challenge, or the Trump binding spell. Some dark, some left-hand path group has, or individual has created this as an energy harvesting exercise, and do not partake in it. It's also rooted in the traditional thing of salvation and redemption from Christianity and things like that. That is the fundamental core of the New Age thing anyway. And so be wary of all that stuff and be careful and stay well clear. Yes, absolutely, there's a tremendous sense of creative energy coming into the world right now, directly as a result, and it always happens following wars. You know, you had like so many artistic movements following World War II and World War One, and now following the 2020-21 war of governments upon their people has ended on behalf of this demonic force, or whatever it was, that passed over the earth for the last nearly 2.5 years, nearly 3 years actually, and has moved on. There's now a tremendous feeling of creativity right now, tremendous feeling, and I hope you're riding it. I hope you're enjoying it. It feels even though it's August here now, it feels like spring. There's a very springtime vibe here at the moment, and this is what happens. It's the same thing. You've got a blank slate again. You would have found, like I keep going back to this example of, those videos we saw Berlin in June and July 1945 of like literally mostly women and disabled men from the war and kids literally rebuilding Berlin brick by brick, and literally picking the bricks up one by one and carrying pails of water one by one. And yeah, it's shit. Yeah, everything's in ruins. And this force that has left us has left tremendous damage. But at least it's gone. Just like in Berlin, the bombs weren't landing anymore and the shells weren't exploding in the streets. And at least that was gone. So you would find that people in the ruins of Berlin, as they were rebuilding it, would have created art. They would have, picked up rocks off the ground or bricks, or did something. You would have found that. And that's part of the healing process. This is why I have no time for the doom monkeys and the doom pimps at the moment who are trying to it's only going to get worse. This is only the start. It's all over now. We're finished. Or getting ready for the next phase. No, I have no time for them. Even if it was true, I have no time for them. The world is not for them now. And, misery loves company, and let them run off to their doom pimp jocks who can, fill them full of more terror and fear, because they're in between their cannabis addiction. They crave doom nonstop. And I'd be the one to find a way. I'd be the one on the Titanic as it was going down, and I know many of the tribe would be, to start building life rafts out of beer crates or wherever we could find, rather than standing in line going, singing "Nearer My God to Thee" as the thing was going down. And that's what all those truthers are like, singing, oh, it's only going to get worse, oh, the war's coming, or you move on to the new thing, they move on to a new cause. I'm not interested in that. I had one battle to fight. I fought it, and it's over. And now I'm rebuilding. And you can do whatever you want with your life, but I know I'm not going there. Now, there's all kinds of signs, and just to point out to this in a moment. Alex Jones has been ordered to pay over $4 million to the Sandy Hook families, considering the horrors that was unleashed by the truthers down there. I think that's actually a fair judgment. This is the sad thing about it. Alex Jones has got so many things right over the years, But Sandy Hook was literally an appalling miscalculation. And it was an appalling miscalculation with horrific after effects. I mean, you had dumbass truthers, the same ones on that come on these videos here and say, "Oh, it's only going to get much worse. It's only going to get," with those types. The same types going up to Sandy Hook and telling parents whose kids had been gunned down by that lunatic that they were all crisis actors and their children never existed, or their children are still alive. Grieving parents, and all these truthers up there, following people down the street. It was just like the maggots at the Hampstead Church, following the people around the Hampstead Church, going "Satanic pedophile" with their phones. All the Nigel nonsense, "Satanic pedophiles," them types. And you see, with power becomes responsibility. I have a little bit of an influence out there, so I always try to use what influence I have to generate positivity, or not, at least if there's no positive, not to fall into the depths of despondency. The last thing you'll get around me is misery loves company. I'm here to try. I'm only interested in elevating the human spirit, and that's all. I'm not interested in anything else. And a part of elevating the human spirit is to protect it from danger and to safeguard it. But that I have a tiny, tiny, tiny influence in alt media. I'm a nobody, where Alex Jones has colossal, colossal power. He reaches God knows how many millions of people. You've got to be, you've got to be responsible. I'm very wary. I mean, there were days during the lockdown that I wanted, tool up and go down and hit government buildings. But, I wasn't going to put that out there. I wasn't going to do that myself. And I certainly wasn't going to encourage others to do it. Because, again, if you have a voice, even no matter how small, you have a responsibility to the people that are listening to you. Not that they're stupid or anything, but the bigger your audience gets, the more likely that by sheer numbers you could have a very negative effect as a result of that. And Alex Jones's massive audience, and we all saw him screaming about Sandy Hook and how it was a false flag and all this stuff. Well, in amongst those millions of people that listen, there'll be a handful of dumbass truthers who will go down to Sandy Hook and abuse those grieving parents. I'd actually say that it was the darkest day in the history of the alt media, was the whole Sandy Hook debacle. And like I said, it's a horrible thing as well in lots of ways. It's tragic because Alex Jones got so many things right. He's been right about so many things, regardless of his bombastic OTT sort of like American delivery in the arm and losing his temper, which gets an audience. Even me, all of us, there has to be an element of showbiz there. I know that sounds kind of like weird, but that's why that's what the VONs were about. They were chaos magic showbiz. And there's an element of showbiz, and I joke and do funny songs and stuff on these videos. You reach people that way, and of course that was his show, his showbiz, his stagecraft was this kind of thing, and all that, and it worked really well for him. And whatever gets people interested in important topics they need to be aware about. I don't care about the delivery method. That was his delivery method, and it worked, particularly in America. But just with that sheer massive audience he has, there will be people who take it too far, and that's what happened to Sandy Hook, and he's personally paying the price for that. And I think the judgment was fair. I think it was a fair judgment. It could, if he had more money, he probably would have hit him a bigger fine. I mean, you get sports stars getting enormous fines for much bigger for breaking contracts, but yeah, that's one of the signs out there. The truth scene, the truth community, whatever you want to call it, has not been very good at policing itself, especially as its numbers grew. And by policing itself, I'm not saying censorship. I'm saying whoa, hold on a second. Make sure you have all the facts before you start saying something like that, especially when it comes to children being gunned down in a school and a school teacher being killed. Put the fucking brakes on there. Don't go charging into that one. Unfortunately, they went charging in, and it's disgraceful legacy to leave in alt media. Absolutely disgraceful, and I feel very, very bad for those people in Sandy Hook and the families and everything. And it was a horror no one deserves. But you better, yeah. I know there was weird anomalies. It was like the guy in the woods and all this kind of thing, but that's not enough. See, here's the problem with truthers: is they put one and one together and get 50,000. No, you get one. You put one and one together, you get two. Then you may look for three. You might find four. You may not find five, but you may find 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you can start building a hypothesis. You can start building a proper conspiracy theory. But the difference between truthers and, say, truth seekers and, even old-fashioned conspiracy theorists like myself, the difference is they put one and one together and get 1,000,000 or 50,000. They don't look at something and say, like, I'll give you an example, the moon landing thing. I years ago read on 14 times the photographic anomalies of the moon, and I even went, Jesus, did they actually fucking fake it? And I didn't automatically assume it was faked. I just said, Jesus, did they fake it? And then I spent the next 10 years, every single question I had regarding doubts concerning the moon landings were perfectly answered. And I came to the conclusion, well, the moon landings happened. That's just the end of that one. And that's how you are. And then, but there's other things that haven't been answered. 9/11 has never been answered for me. Every time, this is one of the reasons I avoid the fucking thing, is because every time I go back to 9/11, yeah, there's massive doubts. But then there's the gaslighting around 9/11 is like spectacular beyond belief. Even all these people who claim to be on the media, on this side, having solved it, or so many of them are bizarre characters that come out of nowhere, cause a sensation within the scene for a while, and then they vanish. And that's all the markings of special ops. And so, and every time I go in, I just keep it down to the basics. I don't. When I hear things like, just why on no planes? I mean, I know people personally saw both planes hitting the towers, and this nonsense and all this stuff. Now, they may not have been the American Airlines flights. They could have very easily been disguised or something. But they weren't holograms. They were fucking machines that fucking plowed into the thing. Probably loaded with fucking bombs and everything. But I don't know that for certain. But I do know that some funny fucking shit went down. And, and the weirdest shit of all is the Bush family suddenly getting the Bin Laden family out of America when no one else could leave, confirmed. And that nearly all the hijackers were Saudis and directly connected to the House of Saud and various members of the Saudi royal family, confirmed. And that the 5 dancing Israelis makes no fucking sense at all, and one of them was exposed as being a member of Mossad, confirmed. And then somehow it ends up that the Iraqis get blamed for it. That's all, and that alone is enough of a head fuck for me to go, I really don't. Look, my attitude towards 9/11 is, it was fucked up beyond belief, like the Kennedy assassination. But we'll never know the truth. Because there's, at least with the moon landings and stuff, there's archival documents and footage and all kind of very good engineering stuff we can check and prove, yeah, it did happen. But there's, even you go to architects and engineers for 9/11, the whole thing seems like a massive gaslight. I often wonder if they were set up as a front, and then all this stuff like that. And my attitude towards 9/11 is, something fucking dodgy went down there, big time. And it's so gaslighted and so distorted at this point that, it's almost impossible to actually figure out what happened. all we can say for sure is it's the official story is not the only story. Okay, now that, so if you dive into things, you have to really, you can't just watch a YouTube video, and 10 spliffs later decide that's the truth, which so many of you do. Not in the tribe, but like a lot of people out there do. And this way you have fads in the alt media. They suddenly have star forts. Oh my God. Oh, star forts. What? We asked them, why are you interested in star forts? Oh, I don't find them interesting. Why? And it's the only reason the only reason they have this, and it's all tied to the mud flood Terraria bollocks. And the only reason they go on about the star forts is it has the word star in it. So spaceships, aliens, star forts, that's the only reason they're interested in them. The reason why star forts are shaped like they are is because it creates more walls of defense in the same area footprint. It's a genius in design. Literally, an attacking army has much more walls to try and scale than if it was a square or a circle. By creating all these angular walls, they have much more. It's much more difficult to attack. By the same count, when you create more angular walls within a star shape, what do you create? You create more battlements to defend. It's an ingenious idea that's been around for hundreds of years. But star forts they're from the stars, aliens. They just jump on these. And you ask them to give you proof, they can't. I just find it interesting. It's like how you can always tell someone who fell for all the flat Earth bullshit, and then then they realize they're not as bright as they think they are, and are led down the garden path. They won't admit, I fell for the. You can always say the same line. They'll never admit, I fell for the flat Earth thing. What they will say is, does it really matter if the Earth is flat or round? That's their way of saying, yeah, I believed all that bullshit, and I was fucking seduced by all those NLP videos. If the curve of the Earth, all this kind of fucking the slow talking NLP videos with it was CIA paid for graphics, and now they realize what dumb fucks they are, but they won't admit it. They'll turn around and say, "Does it really matter if this whole thing of all the fault? There's no. I mean, they don't check nothing. I saw one on the BR313 group, and it says, "Can any one person show me a photograph of the ISS from Earth?" And then someone showed a photograph and a video. How come we can't see all the satellites up there? Because most of them are the size of a fucking football. You're not going to see a football orbiting up there. And yet they just don't check. They dive right in. And that's what happened on Sandy Hook. They took their flat earth, big trees, Tataria, half information, half facts, screwed up bollocks, and dived straight in. Not only did a horrible thing by attacking the family members who've lost their children, but also damaged the image of conspiracy theorists and the truth movement by diving right in and not fucking fully checking, putting one and one together and getting 50 million, And that's been a huge problem in this scene, unfortunately. And it continues on. There's too much impulsive jitteriness among many of them out there. You look at it and you examine it slowly. You have to be like Sherlock Holmes. And yes, the incredible sometimes does turn out to be true. That the most bizarre conspiracies turn out to be true. 9/11 and JFK being among them. Even though we don't have all the facts, they are true. That there's something fucked up, massively fucked up there. But that's because we have evidence. We have real hard evidence. We don't have, oh, what's that guy doing there? Oh, he must be a CIA agent directing everything. You have to have you have to have more than just 20 spliffs and a 5-hour video. Like some guy sent me a video today on the nature of reality, and I couldn't laugh at him. He says the video is called "Are We Living in a Holographic Matrix?" Yes. Here's a video. It was 6 hours long. Like, I've known since I was a teenager that we live in basically an illusion created by our nervous system. But the guy sends me a 6-hour video. Like, I'm supposed to sit there, and you can sit for 6 fucking hours, what I've known for years, and you get a lot of that kind of carry on. I don't need to see that. I don't need to sit. I haven't got 6 hours to sit down and watch some guy repeating himself over and over again. And you look at all these flat earth videos and all these Tataria videos. The same methodological thing over and over again. And if you try, like, flat earthers are so insane now that if you actually, and all the, also that, and you present them with the truth of anything. If you say something and you say, no, here's the proof. They don't say, oh, fair enough, or they don't say, oh, you're right. What they do is they put up laughing emojis. They're completely psychotic. They've descended, many of them have descended into total and complete psychosis. Now, that does not say that does not NASA does not get up to weird shit and lies. It absolutely does. And the other space agencies can't be trusted either. But that doesn't mean they concoct that everything is a hoax. And this is literally what they think. Now they believe space doesn't exist. And they're down to act like the Bible is the proof. That's literally what they're at now. It just gets, when something doesn't work out for you after a while, say, well, I looked down that path and it didn't really give me the answers I needed. And so I moved on to something else. Well, what they do is they jump in immediately and they believe it all immediately. And that's what's happened with Sandy Hook. And like I said, in the normal case of things, the earth is flat, or the moon landing hoax, it doesn't really have real world implications. But when it comes down to something like people walking up to people whose children have been gunned down the streets and saying it didn't happen, that's a very visceral, tangible, unfortunate, and appalling real world behaviour. And that must never happen again. So if you're out there and you're a truther, the next time something goes down like that, don't jump on it and make a fucking fool of yourself and dehumanize the people who are suffering. Say, okay, this is weird. That's what I do. I go, you get into my mind when I see an anomaly like that might dodgy. I'll go, this is fucking weird. I have a look and go, oh, okay, that explains that. And I walk on and move on. But what happens is so many of you go, oh, what's this all about? And instead of going, oh, this is weird, you go, I believe it completely. Now I'm going to spread the video everywhere. Oh, look, And then the next thing you know, your friends and family members are deleting you on social media. People at work aren't talking to you. Your partner and your spouse aren't listening to you. And then you're putting up memes saying on Facebook saying things like, one day the truth will come out and I'll be vindicated. Or there's no more lonely path to walk than to walk the walk of truth. This kind of thing, as if, feeling sorry for themselves. When in reality, all they've done is sabotage themselves. Your evangelical Christian mindset ran away with itself. You're the Christian mind virus inside you of having to save everybody, has run away with itself. And Alan Watt always spoke about this. He says when you get this information, people have a tendency to run around screaming at everybody, and it only does more damage. It's keep it to yourself. And I've often believed that and spread it in a very casual way. How do you spread the truth, right? You say, like, did you know that since the rollout of the needlecraft, you'll use the real language, that the excess death rates are off the scale for all kinds of things? And then you go, no, are you sure about that? Oh, yeah, check it out. It's on such and such a site. What? Yeah, check it out. You don't then go, and then they go, I don't believe you. And they go, oh, come on, I don't believe you. You don't suddenly go, it's on reptilian resistance channel. This is what they do. You turn around and they go, oh, no, it's true. Check it out. It's on mainstream sources. And then they go, did you see the episode of Stranger Things last night? Or did you watch the football last night? Did you see the Champions League game last night? Did you watch the baseball? Did you watch the boxing last night? You change the subject. You truthers out there, you become evangelical because of your Christian mind virus, and you start wanting to convert everybody. The sort of like the Presbyterian Pentecostal minister inside many of you comes to the fore. And you do this with things like, paganism as well. I've seen that as well. Especially the Nordic pagans, the ones who do the Nordic paganism, they're unbelievably churchy. They're all like, Pentecostal. They're all like, not even Pentecostal ministers. They're like Free Presbyterian ministers up north, Instead of going, ye shall be judged, they're going, and on with the Freya and the destroy Loki. They become just like it. And you go, and the day of judgment is coming when revelations and the Bible is coming. And they change with like, Ragnarok is coming! The same fuckers. Anyway, see you, bye.